You see, this distinction, when we did the work in Colombia at Consol Communication, the racket they had is the economy is doing it to us. The economy is doing it to us, right? They were blaming Consol Communication that we worked with, the executive team, were blaming the economy for their ineffectiveness. And I said, okay, wait a second. Now we've got to go back to all of the financial reports that you put publicly out to the shareholders for the years you had good performance, because you took credit. You said, you know, it was good management made it happen. Now you're blaming the economy when it's not good performance. I said, wait, you can't have it both ways. They said, we don't like that. And they had, you know, guards at the back of the room with guns. I didn't think it was a good idea to continue, but we continued. But if you use something as big as the economy, or there's too much volatility, or any other persistent complaint, it will rob you of moving forward and being effective in that same environment. I get there's volatility. Now, could you be effective in the face of that volatility? If you're running the racket, I promise you, it's going to cost you effectiveness. Make sense? Yeah, please. Microphone. Thank you.
Hi, I have a question. Doesn't this lead actually to complacency?
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking of the case of corruption. We have a lot of corruption in Romania, and if we play the game of going inside the same mentality and working in the same manner that other people expect you to give bribes to somebody or to not accept bribes, don't you encourage this?
Absolutely.
Phenomenon? So what's the difference? I don't want to be complacent. Yeah, there's too much volatility. I'm unhappy. But how can I play the same game and...
Well, you can't play the game, you can't, if I'm following with what you're saying, okay? Let me know if I'm following. You got to get out in front of this. You're never going to be successful inside of this. Well, you have to stop running the racket. You got to begin somewhere. You know, it's easy to say, hey, you all stop and then I'll stop. No, you got to start here, and then you got to begin to have conversations with people from the place where you've taken responsibility for the racket. It could be a racket in the company. It could be a racket in your NGO. Yeah.
So I just want to maybe challenge that a bit. So someone could spend 5% of their time running the racket,
yeah,
and 95% of their time trying to solve the volatility.
Yes.
That doesn't necessarily imply that running the racket necessarily means that they're going to be complacent in addressing it. So I don't think those two have to necessarily go together. You don't have both. I mean, it's not one or the other.
Dan was recommending that we do something, so now we got to do it. So you will design a strategy to overcome that 5%. Does that make sense? You got it. Why? You've got this big thing. You've got this thing, there's too much volatility. Now you're going to get people together who share in the racket. It's only 5%, but you're going to design strategies to overcome it. How do you overcome this racket in your company?
I think you overcome it by trying to address the root causes.
Okay, good. And
that's
how's it been working so far? That's my point. Do you get it?
But it doesn't, I mean,
I don't mean that
there's no volatility just because you don't complain about it.
No, that's right.
There could be volatility.
Yes, there's a ceiling, there's a floor, we've got volatility. But that's not the same as there's too much volatility. That's like somebody saying they're not good enough. What does that mean, they're not good enough? As a racket. I get what you're saying here. But all you need to do is run it 5% of the time. And it's going to cost you. Look, you guys are the ones that came up with the cost. This is what you said it's going to cost you. That's pretty big. And it sets something in motion in your culture. Now, do you have a culture in your company? You do, right? Okay, good. Where's the culture? You see, here's what I ask people. Do you have a culture in your company? They go, oh yeah, we have a culture. I say, good. Go get me a small box of it. Not too much. I don't want too much of it because, but just a small box of the culture. Where's the culture of your company? Any company in here? Okay, good. So where does it show up, what we call like on the field? If you're going to play football, you're going to play it on a field. Where does it show up on the field called their behavior? How does it show up? I'll make it even easier. Hang on. Do you guys work? Of course you work. Now, what is it that you do every day that you call work? Eric's going to remind me to get back to culture. I have to do it another way. So do you have something, you work, right? What is it that you do? If I followed you around every day, what would I see you doing every day that you call work? Every day. Okay, good. So Christian says make decisions. Now, I can't see you making a decision, but I can see something.
Communicate.
Well, we hope it's communication. But there's something in what you're saying. We call it, conceptually, we call it communication. But what is it I'd actually see you engaged in? What's that? Okay, signing a document, yes. Christian just saved us 20 minutes. Okay, great. Did you hear what Christian said? Could you let everybody know what you just said?
Talking to people.
Talking. Isn't that something? Anybody here, do you guys go to work, you don't talk to anybody? You lock yourself in, you do? You lock yourself up in a room. So everybody in here talks, right? And what else do you do? That's one thing you do every day that you call work is you talk, right? We don't know if communication's happening, by the way. That's a whole other conversation. But talking's happening, and what else? Okay, but hang on. Make things happen I can't see. I could see you talking. Your mouth is moving and is right? Okay, good. I don't know if you're making anything happen, but I could certainly hear you talking. What's the other thing that is happening? Okay, no, good. So when you're reading, what are you doing?
You're listening.
Ah, who said that? Somebody said that. Okay, good. That's right. You're listening. You see? And what else? So is there anything else you're doing all day long other than speaking and listening? Really? What's that? Okay, now you're talking to who?
Thinking.
You're talking to yourself. You're both speaking and listening, right? Okay, good. Do you do anything else besides speaking and listening? I know it sounds too simple, doesn't it? But see, now I'll ask you, where's your culture? It lives, you say behavior, it lives in the speaking and the listening. Now remember, the listening has two components. Watch. There's the foreground and the background. Yeah. In what?
How the space is made.
Okay.
Culture lives in processes.
Hang on, just put the mic so everybody can
Culture
hear.
lives in processes. Culture
Okay.
lives in artifacts.
I got it.
Culture lives in more things than just speaking. And
Well, hang on, I've looked at this a long time. I'm not saying you're wrong, okay?
that's why.
Okay? But even the processes that you have, I got to take this and I got to bring it over there, I got to do that, I got to send it to Joe and I got to do this and I got to get it back.
How you're going to do that? That's part of culture.
It's all part of the
you're gonna do
culture,
it with
but
capital letters, small letters, yellow paper, black paper.
No, that's
all
right.
these things are culture. So
All
it's
of
not just
that-
thinking culture. It's much bigger than that.
all of that we're going to use yellow paper, fine. That began as a speaking. Now it's institutionalized in a document. I get that. But it all began as speaking. Somebody said, let's use blue paper or yellow
Then
paper.
it has a life on its own because
I-
nobody knows
I
why
get
it
that.
happened, how it was taken as a decision, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
right.
a much bigger thing. That's what I'm saying.
By
Thinking and talking is a subset of culture. Culture is more
Yeah, but
things that
here's the thing that I just invite you to look at. I'm not saying you're wrong. I want you to look at something, is that how do you get access to the transformation of your culture? If you don't alter the speaking and the listening, you don't alter the culture. Does that make sense? That's the point.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm getting at. Then you could alter all the processes and everything. But if you don't get the, wait a minute. You know, this is, I love it when somebody in the company, when we're working with a company and they say, you know, that you can't make a difference in this company because the culture's this way. And I say, you're going to get to be right. That's a great racket. You see? Now, if you are that you can't make a difference, then your speaking has no impact. Zero. Isn't that an exciting place to work? Guess what's going to happen with that person? They're going to check out of your company and go find a better one until that one looks like the old one. Together? Okay. Useful? So what do you do every day? You did it last week, you do it now, you do it tomorrow, you're going to do it. That's what we do. We engage in conversations that are constituted by speaking and listening. The culture exists in there. So now, if you've got a racket that is allowed, it's like a virus in your computer, if it's allowed to manifest, I promise you, it's going to impact this network of conversations big time. Because that's, what is your organization? You see, if you look at your building, your papers, for example, if you stop in your company all the speaking and listening for a month, I don't care what those papers do. Do you get what I mean? Now, I know you got blue, green, yellow, and all those things. But where is the life of the enterprise, really? Is it in the building? Is it in the machines? Does it make sense? That's where the transformation happens. That's the magic. The magic is that it happens in the speaking and listening. And if you don't think you could impact it, you get to be right. And you're the people at the top. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay.
How do you fit in mindset in all this? Because there's speaking and there's listening. I think there's a meta point here, which is much more important in terms of culture, and it's mindset.
Okay.
So sometimes people speak, but they don't believe what they say, or they listen to what exactly they want to listen to. So,
yes.
And I think that the place where really culture resides, and yes, that's what you're alluding to, is mindset, right? How people really address the issues, the rackets as you said them, and then what do they do about it?
Yeah, so the kind of...
I'm close to what you're saying, right? Is it far?
No, you're right there. But that's why you've got to disturb the mindset of people with some new distinctions. If you don't disturb it, then it's business as usual all the time. Make sense? Look, if you say, listen, this is just a group of people, where does a group of people exist? If it's not here, let's use your term, mindset. You get it?
Carol Dweck, not my term, fixed mindset.
A fixed mindset. By the way, I've never seen a mindset. I know we use that as there's lots of ways to speak of it. Okay. Yeah. We learn, adapt, and bring forth our worlds through the networks of conversation in which we participate. And all of us are participating in different conversations. AmJam is a network of conversations. You have a huge resource in this room. Enormous. There's nothing you can't resolve with who's in this room. There's so much intellect in this room, it's overwhelming. But not if you hold it as a group. If you hold it as a group, then you will just use a few individuals. If you begin to create for yourself, and I'm going to use your word, a mindset, a frame of reference in here that who we are as a community, then you're going to relate to it at a different level. And nobody could put that in your head. You have to invent that distinction for yourself. To shift from a group to a community, and to shift from a group to a community of transformational leaders. See, you guys are, this conversation, you're going to look back some years from now, and you'll remember this conversation. Because it all began with a dinner with Dan Mokanu in Montreal 4 years ago, who introduced me to Anka 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, had dinner with her, and she says, here's what I see is possible for AmCham and Romania. And it took 2 years to set up for this conversation. 2 years from now, I promise you you're gonna see some transformation happen right here in this environment, starting with AmCham. We're gonna go to work together and begin to transform AmCham as an organization. And that's the laboratory for you guys. Yeah, to start. But you don't have to leave it in the laboratory. Yes, please.
Just a short observation based on what you just said.
Sure.
I understand that it is the role of the leader of that organization to engineer the conversations within the organization.
Yes.
And if the leader doesn't have the skill or he doesn't know,
Yeah.
that this is very important,
Yeah.
then probably he or she has to have someone else within
Yes.
the organization to kind of facilitate this.
Yes, well, you need to, now, here's where, I've been working with the same coach for 30 years. Why? He's a master. He's extraordinary. Now, could I not have one? He's 80 years old now. And, I keep asking him, don't you want to retire? He says, no, I'm having too much fun. And he loves impacting, coaching me and our company to impact the world. And he says he never needs any credit for anything. No, for me, I love having somebody coaching me. That makes a big difference. Why? I can't see everything. I get stopped like you. Yeah, you get it? Yeah. Okay. What else we got, Eric? Let's go to something interesting for them. Oh, listening. I was on an airplane, and there was a woman beside me, and we were talking about the work we do, and just before she left, she wrote this on a piece of paper and handed it to me. She says, don't worry, you won't understand it. And I said, okay, we are educated well beyond our obedience. I said, she's right, I have no idea what that means. But I began looking up the word obedience. I was good until obedience. Do you know what the word obedience means? What? It's almost, yeah. Going under? Others. The word comes from obey, and the root of obey means to listen. So we are educated well beyond our ability to listen. And I don't care about the education. I'm talking the education could be formal education and experiential education. But what we do is we put what we're educated in between us and the circumstances. This one took me a long time to get. But it's really powerful what she said. Yeah. Okay. What do you know about speaking? Since that's all we do all day long is, speak and listen. We just touch the listening part. What about speaking? What do you know about speaking? You do speaking, right? What do you know about it? Yes, please. Give it. Yeah, good. Expressing yourself, that's someone who's speaking, right? Yeah. Great. Eric, you want to read that, please? Just out loud, yeah.
Between what I think, what I want to say, what I believe I am saying, what I say, what you want to hear, what you hear, what you believe you understand, what you want to understand, and what you understood, there are at least 9 possibilities for misunderstanding.
And that's speaking. Now, if you want to develop a capacity to be effective with your speaking, to carve into the culture, that whole network, then you're going to have to use some speech acts. Now they're not done sexy up here, but as leaders of the organization, you can make declarations that nobody in the enterprise, in your organization can make. You have the authority to make all kinds of declarations. I don't mean just blah, blah, blah. Because people if they hear you do a declaration and you have no integrity with what you're saying, rackets begin like that. And you're the source of it. So a declaration is an action in language. Your speaking has tremendous power to shape things. You know, you have the right for Google in Romania to make declarations. I can't make any declaration. I have no authority. You might think, I don't, how much, you have the right to make some declarations. Now, you can't make the same declarations as Eric Schmidt. You don't have the same authority. Yeah?
Yeah, I'm not sure always why Larry is not asking me when he's taking decision. Still wondering why.
You're still wondering why? Yes.
No, actually, if
Yeah.
I have the microphone, I was thinking,
Yeah.
you know, once we did analysis on what is different, especially on the startups and entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
why Silicon Valley is able to create so much success stories
Yeah.
and not others
Yeah.
in the world. And it has to do also with an approach you have towards a failure.
That's right.
Because in over there, you know,
Yeah.
is the company failing, is not the leader failing.
Yeah.
Actually, the leader is even more valuable because he learns something out of it.
Yes.
While in our culture is the person, you know, they take it personally and is the person who failed. Now, what I'm saying is actually the younger you get that entrepreneur,
Yeah.
the less this is a problem. And right now we have some amazing, you know, examples of young entrepreneurs, Romanians, who are building, you know, extremely successful companies, global players, without having any concern in assuming risks or failing or
Yes.
something like this. So it might be that, you know, the older you get, the more vulnerable you are to this.
Yeah, well, the older you get, the more you and I want to not have the volatility. You see? When you're young, that's great. You get to invent in that space. The same environment, two different ways the world occurs to you. Okay, good. So declaration plays a big role. Another one is assertion. Leaders make assertions. Not just leaders, managers, employees, they can make assertions. An assertion is a kind of declaration, so that you have to provide evidence for it. What's an assertion? So I assert that you have a car here. I may be inaccurate, but I'm committed to provide evidence if somebody asks me, do you have a car here? Okay, good, I got lucky. Yeah, but if somebody said provide the evidence for that, then I have to. It's not just an opinion. Yeah. This is all about facts. A fact. I mean, why is oil worth what it is? Well, that's an assertion. People that align on an agreement, it's an assertion that they do. Requests. Very powerful. Most people are not effective with requests. As simple as that sounds, because we don't spend enough time on the what and the by when. The by when's a little easier, but we don't spend enough time on the what. Okay, good. This we spend hours when we work with clients. Okay, then there's a promise. I promise you what by when. Yeah. These 4 speech acts, we call them speech acts, make a world of difference in impacting the culture. And the more you demonstrate this, the more people could see you being effective. If something's not moving forward, one of these speech acts or some combination of them are missing. Yeah. Okay. We could spend a few months on this. Okay, let's go to what Anka said was next. Breakthrough. Okay, let's go to breakthrough. Great, thanks. So what is a breakthrough? I'd love to hear from you. We have some stuff up there, but I'd rather you say it. What's a breakthrough? Say it again. A radical solution. Okay, good. What else is a breakthrough? Please. And thanks for dealing with the microphones all the time. I appreciate that.
Also surpassing saturated boundaries.
Okay, very good. Let's use that for a moment. So, going beyond anything that's existed in the past. Does that satisfy that? Does that satisfy what you're saying? So you're going beyond to come up with a solution. Yeah, now there could be, to break through, you have to break through that whole barrier of the past. Okay. Okay, let's see. I don't like any of this. This is too noisy. Okay. Look, we don't see things the way they are. We see things the way we are. And that's a big deal. The more people could get the distortions of what they're seeing out of the way, the more is the possibility for a breakthrough. And that's, that has a lot to do with the young people. As you get older, you end up with more distortions. And the younger people, now, I don't say they always see it without distortions, but there's something about that. So I'm going to show you something. It's called altering the way the world occurs to you. You know what that means? How do you, like just Nolan, for example, that there's too much volatility, distinguish it as a racket, something gets made possible. Does that make sense? If you get that that's a racket for yourself, okay, I've been running that racket before I even got here at that other country I was at, now I'm over here, now I can see that there's too much volatility here. If you could see it's a racket, and you could say, okay, I'm responsible for the racket, what does that make possible now? You see, what does it make possible, Nolan? What do you think? Let's give him the mic. I'm just curious what he's going to say. Because the moment you say something, you will alter the occurring for yourself.
I mean,
Sorry.
the part I agree is that if you have an organizational culture built around what you're calling rackets, that it could be not necessarily a positive culture in an organization.
Right.
The part that I'm not necessarily linking is that a racket implies that the actions you've taken were undesirable or not in the right direction. I don't
know
those two things have to be coexisting together at the same time. Do you see what I mean?
Well, try this one on. You ready? The way you see something, right, shapes your actions, does it not?
Yes.
Okay, good. So a racket is going to shape your behavior.
But running a
strategies
racket about a certain issue, if let's say you stop running the racket, it doesn't mean that issue doesn't exist.
I didn't say it would,
right?
but now you could get present to the way it is and the way it isn't. You've got to get profoundly related to the way something is. And you're not going to get profoundly related to the way something is if you're running a racket. Because you've distorted it. I get there's volatility. Okay, there's a ceiling, there's a floor, there's volatility, and this is what it looks like right now at this time. And because it moves, it morphs, right? See, once you can see, we have a term, we call it looking at what's so. When you could look at, like, there's a ceiling, there's a floor, we call that what's so. Then you could look at what's missing. But until you have a relationship, a powerful enough relationship to what's so, you can't see what's missing sufficiently. And I get what you're saying, 95% of the time you don't run the racket, I get it. But that 5%, it's expensive. And we all do it, yeah. Okay, let's take a look at altering did you want to say something, Noel? Okay, let's take a look at this. So I'm going to give you something to solve. So you see these stairs? The manager of this particular subway system, this metro, the mandate that he got was have people use the stairs because it's healthier. In Sweden, this happened in Sweden. So they wanted to have less people using the escalators and more people using the stairs. Who's seen this already? You haven't seen it? Okay, good. So don't say anything for now. Thank you. So what would you do to solve the problem? That's now your mandate. You'd break the escalator. Very good. What else would you do? You'd make the stairs wider and squeeze them on the escalator. Got it. What else would you do? Make them pay for taking the escalator. Got it. What else would you do? You'd have it move so slow that they would go, I could go faster by the stairs. Not bad. So all of those are interesting, right? Yeah. Take a look what they did. Oh, sorry. I ruined that one. Go back. Okay. Good, Eric. Thank you. Okay, good. Interesting, right? Now, see, everything speaks to us all the time. See, somebody looks at the stairs, it's not occurring as stairs, it's now occurring as what? It's occurring as...
Alexandre from NER. I'm sorry, my opinion is that they actually didn't change the pattern. They used the same pattern to build something else. Those people were still seeking the pleasure or the comfort. They only changed the comfort of the stairs with the comfort of playing with those other stairs.
Okay, that's a valid interpretation, but if you look at the math, it worked. Produced the result. You get it? See, what you're saying is valid, but the biggest thing is, how do we alter the way your organization occurs, the culture occurs? That's the thing you got to constantly be working on. What's that? Yeah, if you make it fun, it might work out. I don't mean not with accountability, but really. Okay, let's go to the next one, Eric. What's next? Columbia's transformation. Okay. So do you want to read those, Eric? And not too loud so that we break their eardrums, but just, there's a lot. Just, it'll come back.
Colombia in 1989. Drug cartels, bomb attacks, kidnappings, assassinations, judges, journalists, President Luis Carlos Galán. Biggest personal concern was security, 30,000 kidnappings. Violence related to drug trade, 22,000 people killed in the three-way conflict. 6 million Colombians forced to flee their homes.
That was the culture, that's the whole environment in 1989, okay? So Richard Hopper, he joined our company in 2002, yeah.
Financial executive at Exxon Corporation, CFO of Comcell Communications, and now senior consultant emeritus at Legacy Transformational.
Yeah, he's been with us since 2002. So he took a stand. When he joined our company, I asked him this question. He called me to join the company. And I said, why do you want to join our company? He says, I could get you more business. I said, I don't have to die in Colombia to get more business. I said, there's lots of business in the world where I don't have to sign documents that nobody's going to come and pay ransom. So if you want me to go to Colombia, it has to be for a bigger game, not just get more business. And he says, let me think about it and I'll call you back. 2 weeks later, he called back and he said, I know what would be a very inspiring thing for you, for us, for him. I said, what? He says, peace in Colombia. I said, wait a minute, Richard. When was the last time there was really peace in Colombia? He says, maybe 40 years ago. I said, okay. And by when are you saying there'll be peace in Colombia? He says, I'll call you back. So 2 weeks later, he called back and he said, okay, peace in, so this is 2002, peace in Colombia by 2010. I said, okay, in 8 years, you're saying peace will happen in Colombia. He says, that's right. Now, Richard's an American citizen. He's also a Colombian citizen. He married into a wonderful family there. Okay. I said, so Richard, how are you going to measure that? Now, remember, he's CFO. He had that whole CFO background. So I thought he'll come up with some really good government measures. He says, I don't know. Let me call you back. 2 weeks later, he calls back and he says, I've got the measure. He says, I could walk anywhere I choose with my granddaughter. And I said, that's what peace in Colombia would look like. I said, perfect. I said, now come to California, because that's where I was living at the time. And I said, now you can meet my wife, who's my business partner, because I'm easy to pass by. She's a lot tougher. And she's going to ask you some questions. And we met with Richard, and we had dinner with him. And at some point, he gets up to go to the washroom, and I asked Giselle, what do you think? She says, he's really, really, really smart, this guy. I said, yeah. She says, you know, it'll take a little longer to train him. I said, yes. She says, it's worth it. I'm willing to risk our company, of course, my life, which I wasn't so sure what's that all about. But anyways, that's Richard. Go ahead.
Commitments in November 2001. Richard, peace in Colombia by December 31st, 2010, with nobody left out. Measured by that I would be able to go anywhere in the country with my granddaughter and feel safe.
Great.
Robert, legacy.
Yeah.
Integrity and trust as key ingredients in any transformation, no matter how complex.
You don't, and I don't, it doesn't have to be perfect. There has to be a commitment to this. Yeah.
Richard and Robert adopted the point of view that they were responsible for peace in Colombia.
Yeah, I wasn't even a Colombian citizen, and Richard is a Colombian citizen, and he said he's responsible for peace in Colombia. Now, that's a silly thing to say, isn't it? He had a good life before saying that, and I took responsibility for peace in Colombia. Now we have two people responsible. No, I'm not saying other people weren't working on that. I'm not even taking any credit for it because everybody else produced the results. Okay, go ahead.
The people, process, and achieved results. Comcell, Claro, largest wireless company, created a strategic plan approved by the shareholders. In 2 years, went from 46% of subscribers in 2 regions to over 66% of subscribers in all 3 regions of Colombia.
Yes.
Now is the most profitable company in Colombia.
Yeah, so that's an example of one company transforming makes a contribution to the network of conversations that makes up a country. It's not the answer. It just makes a contribution. The highest contribution possible that an organization could make besides the economic contribution is the contribution to the transformation of the country itself. Okay, go ahead.
Almacenes Éxito, the
yes.
largest retailer in Colombia. 44 million clients, stock price has increased 18 times.
Yeah, that altered. Okay, go ahead.
Hoco Petroleum,
Yeah.
Ecopetrol, largest oil company, bought and sold 4 times by multinationals over 15 years.
Yeah, they called themselves, when we began working with them, they said they were orphans. They didn't know who they were. They didn't know, they had no future. And they said, you know, we're poor in Colombia. And I said, okay. Yeah.
Completed the past, constituted themselves as a high-performance leadership team, invented a leveraged buyout of management, accomplished 40% of a 10-year bold promise in 3 years.
Yeah. So you get a sense of that? If you take on the transformation of your own organizations in here and support the transformation that goes on with AmCham, you'll be making one of the highest contributions to your country here. And you're going to benefit out of it. That's the beauty. Everybody wins. Okay. Let's go to, what do you want to do next? Yes?
How did those companies' performance link back to peace in Colombia?
No, but see, if the peace in Colombia was interesting on a bigger scale for Richard, right? And Richard began to enroll people like the president of the country. He began enrolling the Minister of Defense. And he was public with this. He was not casual with it. These companies didn't hire us for that. Nor did they want to transform for that. But once they began transforming, they could see they're making the highest contribution to the country. Like I said, you could have both self-interest of your company and contribute at the same time if you're transforming. Not just if you're surviving. You know, Colombia, Éxito has become an extraordinary company. Okay, I think we got to bring it to a head, right? Because we want to make sure we get everybody out on time. Okay. So what do you want to do next?
Organizational transformation.
Okay, so out of everything we said, we're going to now put it into small little buckets. You got to complete the past. You got to create a new era, but once the past is in the past, you got to show up as a transformational leader. You got to be leading the future, a created future that was not predictable to happen. If you want to play the game of transformation, you're going to have to, if you design a new era, which fulfills on the concerns of all the customers, all the employees, all the suppliers, all the shareholders, the community in which you're in, if you design a future that fulfills on all of that, then you've got to have some we call it strategic planning for action. Not just strategic planning, but really being in action with it. You might have all kinds of breakthroughs and like that. Productivity breakthroughs. You're going to need some support, ongoing coaching. Yeah. Anka, anything else with that? Okay, good. I guess let's get to the context. Okay, let's go to context. Which number is that? Okay. Most of us don't look at context sufficiently. Where we look is we look at the process and we look at the content. So we start, what do we have? What do we need to do so one day we could be? You know, what do we need to have? We need to have no volatility, right, Nolan? If we didn't have volatility, then we could do this, and then one day we'll be wildly successful in Romania. That's backwards. I'm not saying you do that. I'm just saying that would be backwards. You've got to start with the context is decisive. No different than the context for Giselle was, I can't love anybody more than I love my father. That context shaped who she was being, her actions in the present, and the results that could be produced. The context is always decisive for the impact of any of the actions and what's possible. Do you want me to say anything more about this? Good? Okay. What else do you want? You ready for get back to the promise so we could complete? Okay. Okay. So, Eric, you want to read that, please?
The AmCham and Legacy Promise. You start transforming from being a group of AmCham CEOs and business owners into being a community of committed transformational leaders, investing yourselves wholeheartedly in fulfilling a created future for you, your company, and Romania. By the end of these 4 hours, you will alter the way you listen for each other, see how you can make your highest contribution, play a bigger game.
Okay, great. So how did we do in this promise? I didn't do that. Oh, you must have done it. Okay, good.
Leave taking actions that were not predictable.
Okay, great. How did we do in the promise? Now, you might say, you didn't fulfill in the promise. You might say, you fulfilled on 3%, or 80%, or... Yes, just get a microphone so we could hear you, and I appreciate that you do that. Yeah.
I felt it was all very, very interesting, and so I think we're well on our way to develop the product. Whether we'll leave the room and taking unpredictable actions,
yeah.
I cannot guarantee, but definitely I enjoyed the morning. There is still the question posed by Nolan that we will have to keep on reflecting and address it, because Nolan's point continues to be right. You can run the rackets, you can take distance from those rackets, the problems still exist. And how do we generate tools, creative ways to throw at the wall that we are looking at, in this case volatility, to find the breakthrough, which is not necessarily a big door. Sometimes it's a small door you can get in and then open up. That part of the problem, how do we...
Well, let me invite
the rackets, but still remains unaddressed.
Yeah, let me invite you to have a relationship that it's not a problem. I don't mean that do positive thinking or something, but consider the possibility it's not a problem. Okay. You got volatility, got it. Great. What do you want now? What's the possibility you could see in the face of volatility? Now you can make a declaration of something that's missing. Look, do you have volatility? Absolutely. Great. Great. Now, what's missing against what you're committed to accomplish here? And what's missing is a possibility that you could declare. Yeah.
Fine. Then if I can make a declaration, not an assertion. That's
right. The assertion will be the fact.
Point. Yeah, because I have no evidence at the moment. Is that in front of an ungrounded way of the system to be?
Yes, it is the way it is,
Then you might want to try to find tools which will go around the obstacles.
Okay, but let's
rather than keep knocking at the door. I mean, what I feel, and I'm sorry, I'm biased because I'm part of the pharma racket, and equally guilty, historically at least.
Yes.
I feel that we are knocking at the door with the same tools and the same arguments.
Yes.
So,
see, I have intimate relationship with pharma in this country, and we worked with one of the pharma companies here. They had the same issues, and they are breaking through big time because their relationship, they have to deal with it. But they're able to make declarations of what is missing as a possibility. I don't say it's easy. They have the exact same circumstances as you, and they are breaking through time and time again. And I mean, I could show you a letter that he sent in. Do you have Eugene's letter? Yes. We have permission to show it to you.
Do you see that more as a mindset, or do you see it as something that results in a actual altering of the environment that the companies here are operating in?
Well, first you got to, it could, but you got to become effective with the environment the way it is, and you could have conversations that get underneath it. It's a big deal to alter the environment. It's a big deal.
But sometimes it's just necessary to change the perspective, because if you're driving a car and you expect to have traffic, you expect to have a road that is stable, it's not volatile. Your concern is with the traffic, it's not with the stability of the road. Whereas when you're at the sea, your concern is with the volatility of the sea and not with the traffic. So, everybody else in any kind of environment or circumstance has a variety of complaints, concerns, whatever. But it helps sometimes as a driver in a car to put yourself in the shoes of a sailor, and it helps to do the other thing around, and then you'll see what you have and it's valuable, and what you don't have and you can overcome. It's as simple as that. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to change the whole market or change the world, but just change your perspective and see how you can manage it better for yourself. And you can start the change, because if you succeed, guess what? All the others are going to look at you and ask, how come he did it?
Yes.
So,
could you read, hang on 1 second, just read what Eugene wrote, please. Yeah. This is what he said. I mean, it was much, I mean, the numbers are there for him. Do you know him? Does anybody know him? Yeah. Okay, good.
Transformation works in Romania, May 13th, 2014. Novartis Romania Oncology, Eugene Greco, OGM. 1 year after our working together, he said, by completing the past, we created together a new future, absolutely unrealistic if we looked at it from the ancient perspective.
Which meant the past, right? Okay.
We learned from you never to give up, to stay with the facts, and to design our own future.
Yeah.
Our bold promise becomes truer than ever and needs reshaping in order to become bold again.
When they originally said, here's our future we're committed to, it was very bold. As they got closer to it, it's not as bold anymore. Why? They took some territory. Same environment. I don't say it's easy. I know it's not, whatever they're going through is not, nothing's perfect. I gave up perfect a long time ago. Yeah. You want to say something?
Yeah, I want to share.
And then we got to get them out in 4 minutes. Yeah.
In this context, what MCEM did in creating the Coaliția pentru Dezvoltarea României. So in our advocacy, we ran rackets against the government. Obviously, all our advocacy is a set of rackets, and we are very right about them because they are present and impacting our member companies. In the moment we looked at the government not in an opposite way, like, you know, the government is wrong and we are right. And we also looked at the other business associations, not like our competitors, because we would like all their members to be members of MCEM. So we created, on one hand, a partnership with the other associations to become with one voice and work with the government in a partnership. So basically, what we say now in the Coaliția context, we are in the same boat, and we have the same interest for Romania to have a business environment, and we look at what we can do together. And in these monthly meetings with the Prime Minister, there are actions as a result of our meetings that the government could take, or we can take, the companies can take, to solve or to improve the situation. So it's in a way giving up the rackets to the government. Probably if we complete the past, I'm not sure that we completed the past, so we are not in a full transformation process, but even from how much we did or where we are today, we could achieve in 2 years, and I shared with you the increase of competitiveness, how Romania stands, 20 places in 2 years, as opposed to the target we took with the Coaliția that Romania will step up in the World Economic Forum with 10 places in 3 years. And we did 20 places in 2 years in this way. So
well, you did a transformation. You know, you stop a racket, that's a transformation that begins. Because then you go to work on it in a different way. Okay, we got to get you out of here in 2 minutes. So what would you like to do? Just do the words for completion? Okay, let me just say one thing for me, Eric. I just thank you for being here. I don't know what it was really like for you to sit here for 4 hours and be in the conversation. Probably many of you are translating what I'm saying into Romanian, or some of you are trying to now fit this into, oh, this is like that. I know it's exhausting. And I just want to thank you for being pioneers for the transformation, to create an environment for transformation for your own organization, for yourself, your organization, for AmCham, and for this great country. So really, just thank you for the privilege of being with you. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you, Robert. It has really been a privilege to have you here today, and all these insights, I think it's food for thoughts for all of us. And it's true that when we look back, we have like more than 25 years in Romania, so 26, 27, which we need to complete somehow and move on and have a breakthrough. So thank you for being here today. I was fighting the other night with Anca and Robert, convincing them that nobody will have the patience to stay for 4 hours and think about our future in Romania. And we're really debating, and thank you for pushing me and accepting this 4 hours, because it shows, looking in the room, that it really matters and it is important to all of us. And I think that it is about each of us and all of us together. Roberto, you asked about the pragmatic tools. That's a very legitimate question. Which are the tools? I would say that the obvious tool is this platform here. So what better tool than this here? So this is a platform which comes as an unprecedented effort of top executives, of people who are responsible not only for their families and companies, but who take now responsibility for the higher purpose. And I think that really this is impressive, and it's also about us, because rolling this out, because behind us there are thousands of people, they are our friends, our families, the larger community, and I think that we all have a duty of care to make this happen. Of course, it's not going to be easy. Of course, we don't know exactly the specific small steps now, but I think it's about the mindset. And I think that we can all say that we here at AmCham, we have a dream. And hopefully we'll see it happening. And it is about disruption. It is about free our mind and spirit. But I think that the alternative does not even count. So I think it's the way forward. So please think about it. It's nothing to be like a to-do list. It's nothing to include on your busy agendas for tomorrow or next week. But I think that staying closer and aligning ourselves for the common vision would really make the others also change. That's for sure. Thank you. Thank you for being with us today.
Beautiful.
Maybe last comment that I need to say is that this is not stopping here. Tomorrow morning, first hour, the board of AmCham will meet and will try to distillate, to somehow filter what happened today and see how exactly we can enable and work this further. So the story goes on. This has been just the inception. Thank you.
Beautiful. Great. Yeah.
Just a few words of thank you for the board for putting us on the hot seat, for the team in the AmCham who helped putting this event together. And we were a team, and we worked, as Robert said, this was not an improvisation. We worked with the background and tried to brief as much as possible Robert on the specificity of business environment here. And we want to thank him, because that was pro bono contribution to us, and that really mattered. And as Daniela said in the beginning, we are committed that our members, that all of your companies are wildly successful, while AmCham plays a role in your success. So thank you very much.
Good job. Thank you.